Okay, so welcome to this week's Patreon podcast. This week is going to be a bit different because I have our first ever guest speaker, Gemma from Birdsey Belizaire. Welcome. Thank you for being here. I guess I want to chat today about wellness, mindfulness, journaling, because I know that if you're anything like me, and I know a lot of listeners are small businesses and we have crazy, chaotic minds, and I guess what you do to calm those sort of thoughts. So if you want to start by just introducing yourself and letting everyone know who you are and what you do, and we can go from there.
Oh, thank you. So hi, I'm Gemma. I'm the owner of Birdsey Belizaire. I sort of coined it as the home of self-care. It's on one part is a shop, so it's a handmade, vegan friendly, ethical and sustainable business. I make candles and home fragrances. I also sell like crystals, jewelry, soap, skincare. There's a lot of things going on. And recently, I'm also a patron creator. So I offer a self-care patron as well, which is where all my top tips sort of end up.
I'm loving your Patreon. I love the skincare workshop that you did recently, and I caught up today on the wellness workshop, which was aptly about journaling, which is amazing. And yeah, I think I want to chat about, I guess, some of the things you've learned. Like you to me are like the queen of self-care. So you were like the perfect person to chat to because lately I think everyone's starting to kind of switch off for the holidays if they can, but also feeling guilty about it. And I guess, what are some of the challenges that I guess you face around being a small business owner and taking time off and like recharging your batteries, I guess?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the biggest challenge for anyone that runs their own business is the overwhelm of it all, because you are the business. It is just you. There's no other employees that you can well, at least not for me and not for a majority of people. They haven't got to the point where they can start delegating tasks or hire some help in. If you are at that stage, well done you, and please do that. But it can be overwhelming. It can be very stressful, and you know from experience that if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it for you. So you put stuff off and you think, well, I shouldn't do that because it's just going to end up coming back and biting me on the butt. So yeah, the overwhelm is a real big thing. It's a sense of responsibility. I think that's the main challenge for most small business owners. And taking care of yourself seems like such a last thing on the to-do list sort of job. Like it's the thing at the very, very end that normally doesn't get done and gets pushed to next week or next month or next year, and we just keep pushing it. Um, so I think a challenge, that's the challenge. I think a way to cope or to get that sort of under control is basic time management. And it's about planning your business, balancing the business with your life, because a lot of times when people start small businesses, it becomes their life. It's all encompassing. It's every waking minute. It's every conversation and everything that they think of. But it's finding that balance between your business and you, and that's, I think, what like the main thing is. So yeah. So
It's a
for
hard one. I know that the majority of people starting their own business wanted to do it to get more time for themselves, for their families.
Yes,
Then you end up working more and more
yes,
and more.
yes, absolutely. It's a very double-edged sword, because you want the time, but it takes the time to implement it. So time management is a big thing. Really plotting out how you spend your time, where you spend your time, and realizing at what points do you need to outsource things. Like I know as a handmade business, I sort of feel sometimes a bit like, oh, I shouldn't outsource stuff. Or I know I've had conversations with small businesses about this, and they're thinking of it's the cost, or it's handing over the responsibility, or it's quality control, whatever it is. But if it's going to benefit your life, then time management, find the things that you can't do and outsource them if you can.
I think time is the most like luxurious thing someone can have. And if you have more of it by giving other things away, if you can, then do it. That's what I'm currently, I think, not struggling with, but starting to go through now. So, like, I've always outsourced the embroidery because I can't do that myself. But I know that if I could do it myself, I would. But I'm starting to outsource things like video editing or maybe like inbox management, stuff like that, stuff that I struggle with and takes so much time. And it's just better if someone can do it, if you can afford that, if you're in that place in your business.
Yeah.
But it is hard. And in the beginning, I was doing everything. I made my own business cards, I made my own tissue paper, like everything that I could do, I did. But that leads to overwhelm, doesn't it?
It does. And time management, I mean, you also have to be realistic about your skill set. Like, not every single element of the business you're going to be able to do solely on your own. And I recently got an accountant because that side of things it's not my strong point. I'm not good with that sort of thing. And instead of feeling overwhelmed or trying to teach myself how to do bookkeeping and all the rest of it, I was in the position where I could outsource it. And that's what I've done. And if you are honest with yourself about where your strengths and your weaknesses lie, like, there's no point going at something that you're not particularly good at or you have a lot of knowledge in, if there's another alternative that you
There,
that you can use instead.
Yeah, honestly, like I'm here thinking now, I'm not good at managing my emails. Why haven't I outsourced them yet? But it's like, it's also the control thing, isn't it? I think as a
It
small business owner, you're doing everything, you do it to your standard and giving that away. More often than not, if it's not your strong point, someone else is going to be better at it anyway. But it's just hard giving up that control, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think I can talk for a lot of people, and we think of our businesses as our babies. We care so much about what it is that we're doing, and it can be a bit heart-wrenching when you use an external manufacturer or something like this and something comes back not quite right, and for you it's the end of the world. But for them, they're like, what are you talking about? It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, we were talking with me on the Patreon call the other day about printing as well. That's a big one that always goes wrong, and printers never see it the way we do. It's just, yeah, it's just a can of worms, isn't it? But when it goes right, it goes really right. So my friend Kaylee from Kaylee More Designs recently edited my latest studio vlog, and it was like way better than I've ever done. And it's performing well. It looks good. I'm happy with it. I'm like, wow, this has saved me so much time. So I think that's something that I'll continue in the future. I think I'll still edit them myself, but then be able to give like more. So I'll be editing, she'll be editing, more content, everyone's happy. But try to avoid the overwhelm. And speaking of overwhelm, when you are feeling that everything is all chaotic and crazy and you're feeling overwhelmed, what are the things that you can do to manage that stress?
Yeah, I mean, managing stress is like the biggest thing at the end of the day. But if you see managing your stress as basically making time for yourself, giving yourself that downtime, making it so that you can, I don't know, sit and chill for an hour reading a book or doing a meditation class or journaling as well. It can be great time to bring out a notebook or a bullet journal if you want to go that fancy, or whatever, a scrap bit of paper. It can be anything, but just making yourself a priority is like the hardest and the best thing. um and yeah, but it can look different for different people.
I was just about to say, do you think that is what you need to do to fill your cup is different depending on how you feel every time you feel overwhelmed? Because sometimes when I have a long to-do list, the last thing I want to do is like go and have a bath or something. But then when you feel like you've done a lot and you're on the edge of burnout, that's when you need to like do the other things to relax. So yeah, it can look different to different people, I think. Like the other day, I had my like the craziest launch ever and I just didn't know how to feel. and I had no one to talk to. So I was like, I don't know what to do right now. So I got out my journal for the first time in years and just wrote about everything that was happening there and then in the moment. And then it's like I had like a therapy session with a friend, but it was with myself.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It,
it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? But it's different.
it can be very revealing, journaling, especially if you're going through something intense or particularly overwhelming or anything like that, because once you get it out of your head and onto paper, you know, you free up a space for like something else to fill that void. And a lot of the times, I don't know if you find this, when you are talking things out with a friend, the minute you say it, it sounds different than it did in your head. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, that's not as scary or it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. That's actually, and you've, in the talking to 5 minute talking to your friends, you figured it out already. That's what journaling does for me. It just helps me figure it out quickly and efficiently. And that's a great reason to journal. And that could be part of your time management. That if you know that journaling helps you come to conclusions and make good decisions, well, then spending 5, 10 minutes or an hour journaling might actually be more productive
Mhm.
than sitting there going, I don't know what to do, da, 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 and you know.
Yeah.
So it just depends on your perspective. I think a lot of that does.
Yeah, I think I've recently rediscovered how helpful journaling can be. I used to journal all the time as a kid, as a teenager, growing up. And then I just stopped, I think. When you go to university, you have a job, you have all these things to do, you just kind of stop. I've kept all my diaries and I do read them through. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God. They're very different now. And I think it does just get all the thoughts. Like it sounds so cliche and everyone tells you this, but it really does get all the thoughts out of your head onto paper and away. Like they're gone. They're not no longer taking up space in your brain. And like you said, you can figure things out. So if something is worrying you or you're going through something where you need to make a decision, writing it down helps like massively. And it's only now that I'm rediscovering that and I'm like kind of wowed by it.
Yeah, I think it's very it's can come so naturally to some people, and for some people journaling isn't the most natural thing. But I feel like even if you just try it just once, just give it a go, because there are so many different types of journaling. You could do it in so many different ways that you're bound to, okay, maybe you don't like align with one type of journaling, but you might find something else that really works for you. And I think a lot of people view journaling as a very like narrow box. It's not. You can do lots and lots of different types of journaling as well. So
So the way I journal is like I just spill all my thoughts out as if I'm chatting to a friend, but obviously there's bullet journaling as well. So what are the different ways, I guess, people could start journaling if they are unsure?
if you're unsure, I mean, go with what feels right for you. So if you have a lot of thoughts in your head, a lot of emotion, a lot of energy, and you need to get it out and down on paper, that's sometimes called morning pages if you do it in the morning, or automatic writing, mindful writing, that sort of thing. Anything where you're talking about self-expression or reflecting on something. Um, so that's sort of one, or quite a big form of journaling. The other side of things, like flip that coin over, you've got things like planning. So weekly spreads, monthly planning, to-do lists, all of that is still journaling. But it just has a more functional impact on our lives. But there are so many. You can have gratitude journals, you could write affirmations. I mean, anything from like planning and journaling like your day or your month or your week, all the way through to like scrapbooking. There are people that have journals that are purely images. There's not a word or two in there. And, you know, to just, for a lot of people, you know, you have an expectation of what journaling is rather than an actual experience of what journaling is. So my advice would just be just to start with whatever feels natural, but to explore as well, like try different things, because you never know what could be like helpful for you. Um, I used to do a lot of automatic writing or reflecting work, and it was always great for me. But then slowly but surely, automatic writing had turned into what I call my brain dumps, where I literally just dump everything out of my brain and onto the page. But then from that, I then create my planning and my business strategies and my collections and everything I want to do in my shop. So it started out as automatic writing and then has sort of like formed into planning. So
Yeah.
it can be as organic as you want it to be.
Yeah, I've never thought about that. Like, I'm literally surrounded by brain dumps, my planner here, like everywhere. And then I started journaling last week. And like you said, the journaling came first. And from that, I knew what to put where and like how to structure my day. I think I've heard about morning pages as well because I was watching Apple Cheeks, I think last year, and she went through a book called The Artist's Way. I haven't read it myself,
Mhm.
but I know she expressed such like importance over the morning pages that she had to write 2 pages every morning, which sounds like a big task and something that I don't think I can keep to myself. But the way she like grew as an artist in my eyes after that and or as a creator was like, wow, like I could see it, and I bet she felt amazing.
It can be very insightful and it can be very fulfilling. And it's like what you said earlier, like how do you keep your cup full? Like there is this notion that, you know, your cup runneth over, that what is in the cup is for you, what extra comes out of the cup is for everyone else. And it's quite a fulfilling thing to keep your cup full, to keep you whole and centered, and to make sure that you're wholly there to experience life, to be present, to be able to be present in your business or your relationships or whatever it is. But you've got to keep your cup full.
Yeah.
And that's what sort of mindfulness and self-care is for me.
Yeah. Like I was thinking journaling for me, I think as a business owner, there's not many people I can chat to in my close circle who do the same things as me. And whilst I can tell them what's going on, they don't necessarily like understand fully sometimes. And I respect that, that's fine. But when I was journaling last week, like I was figuring things out like by myself, even though, yeah, it was like a form of therapy almost.
It can be very therapeutic. And I used to journal a lot for my own mental health. And when I stopped journaling, it suffered quite badly. And now I'm getting back into it. I'm finding that, you know, even me, queen of self-care, I don't make enough time for myself. And I slipped out of certain habits. And now I'm like, no, I've got to keep on it, got to make it a priority. And it is a priority. It is something that you do need to do. Journaling is one way of doing that. But whatever it is that can help you, I mean, if it's going to help, why not try it, right?
I think that's the hard part about starting is that it needs to become a habit. And if you're just starting, like those habits have to build up slowly, small, like as small little habits. Because if you just decide, right, I'm going to write 3 pages a day, it becomes overwhelming. I remember when I was a kid, I had 3 diaries of 3 different people for Christmas. I must have been about 12. And because I felt like I had to use every single diary every single night, I wrote in them every night, 3 diaries. And at the end, I was like, this is just making me tired. And so I stopped. I kept it up for like a year though. So those diaries I still have. And you can tell, like the one of them I couldn't be bothered to write in. It was like, I went to the shop today. So yeah, it needs to start small, I think, and don't overwhelm yourself and just do it as and when you feel like you need to.
Yeah, of course. And it's like starting small is always great, but if you have a lot to say, you have a lot to say. And maybe you do write for 3 hours and you don't write again for another month. But that it's not about regularity, it's about consistency. Even if you journal once in a blue moon, as long as you keep doing it, that's a routine. That's what you're creating. So it doesn't have to be every day I write an essay. It could be maybe every day you write a sentence, and then once a week you write a paragraph. Or it could be once a year you go and write yourself a novel, because that's what you need to do. And whatever it is you need to do, however it shows up, you know, for a long time I was like, oh, it needs to be longer, I need to be writing more. Like I'm not using the whole page. I had this thing about using the whole page, or else it's wasteful. And you know, it can be daunting, that empty page. But for sometimes I would literally just write one word or one sentence and just leave it there. And that was enough for me. And I think you just have to get out of your head the, you know, the shoulds. You know, you should do it for an hour, you should do it every day, you should write a whole page. No, 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 no. Don't let someone dictate how you act with your journal and your relationship with yourself. Just do whatever suits your needs and your wants.
Yeah, I totally get it, because for me, I'm like, I should be handwriting all of these thoughts. I get hand cramp at the end of it, and I'm like, maybe I should just type it. But I'm like, would that have the same effect? I don't know. I haven't tried it.
When I first started mindful writing, I actually did mindful typing, because I was on a computer when I needed to get something out of my head, and I just started typing. But I found that I was thinking faster than I was typing. And so I had a notepad next to the computer and I just started scribbling. And it was completely illegible. You couldn't read anything, but it felt, the relief I felt afterwards was so potent. I was like, right, I need to do this again. And I
Yeah.
just kept doing it.
Yeah, I feel like I need to do the same. So I've just started minor scribbles, and I'm like, one day I might read back on this and laugh. Do you know what? I wish I kept a diary or a journal through like 2020 and COVID and all that drama, because that would be great to read back on now. But times were too difficult for that.
No, yeah. We when we're social creatures, we don't do well locked in inside the house all the day.
Oh God, oh
And
God.
I say that as an introvert. Like I need lots of like space for myself. But even
Yeah.
I was like, oh, there, this is I've had enough of this.
I think that was the year I learned that I was actually an extrovert. Like, I've always put myself down as shy, but I need to be with people. I thrive like in social settings. So yeah, I wish I journaled more. I think I did like 2 pages, like, guess what? This is happening. And then there was nothing to be seen until now, 2024.
Yeah. But it's just about creating that consistency. And consistency is just about creating a routine. And a routine can be whatever you want it to be. It could be a word of the day or the month or a year. And you can just pick that word or that sentence. A lot of people use affirmations or mantras in their journaling. Like it can all be very simple, or as complex as you want it to be. There are no rules. It's totally up to you.
Yeah, I guess you could like look at prompts as well if you're unsure of what to write. Like, I'm never unsure of what to write. I will spill my entire brain on a page. But I guess some people just stare at the page and it can be quite overwhelming, and it's like, what do I fill it with? So
Yeah.
what would you suggest they could do to get writing?
Yeah. I mean, how you start, it is a little intimidating, the blank piece of paper. So I would stick to what makes you happy. So
Yeah.
if there's something, you won't make time for something you're not enjoying. So for me, I buy a lot of stickers. I love stickers. I have stickers. They're everywhere. And I had no real use for them until I started journaling again. And I actually enjoy not just writing down things that I write, but making the page look pretty.
Yes.
I liked being a little bit creative, and I liked having that space, that time to do whatever I wanted to do. Like there was no rules, there's no judgment. And I think that's a big thing as well. And if you are unsure of where to start by putting a sticker on the page or a bit of washi tape. Get a stamp out and just start going crazy on the page. And then you'll find that you want to fill the writing in. But
Yeah,
I have pages where it's literally just scrap pieces of paper and stickers. And
that's
it's
the
yeah, it's just as enjoyable and just as fulfilling. as writing a novel. So
Yeah, I have so many stickers that I haven't actually put anywhere yet. For some reason, I didn't think of putting them in my journal, and I'd like to like label them of where I got them from, of what shop they're from, of what it reminds me of or something. I think that's a really good idea, actually. And like I have tons of washi tape, but I only use it for my planner. But I've never thought about putting it in my journal before.
yeah, I mean, I have a page in my journal that I did recently, and it is literally, quite literally, a page of stickers.
Love it. I love how creative it looks. See, I used to do this kind of stuff all the time when I was like a kid or a student. And like I just stopped like since I reached adulthood and I'm like, but why?
Because we lose the sense of fun when we're an adult. We think that things have to be taken a bit more seriously and we can't be childlike because there's something negative or wrong about that. But, you know, journaling is an incredibly personal activity. There are no expectations, there are no judgments, there are no sort of like you standards. You don't have to conform to anything. You can literally be free to express yourself however you want.
Yeah. I think it's knowing that like no one else is ever going to read this. You don't even have to read it unless you and me as a kid and my little sister got into my diary a few
Yeah,
times.
absolutely. But I think it's very natural and normal to have a space that is dedicated for you because so much of life now is bombarded with external forces, like we're on social media or we're at work or we're in the public eye because we're like out shopping and we have to look a certain way and walk a certain way and present a certain way, and it can be a little overwhelming. And I think having a space where you can just be without judgment or social expectation, you write what you want to write and you've got no need to explain yourself or justify. Like it can literally just be how you feel at that moment and what it's like right now. Like that's it.
Mhm. Yeah, I just remembered there's something that inspired me as a kid to start writing diary, and it was the Princess Diaries, you know, the films.
Yeah.
But I read the books as well, and they were written like in her diary, like in the form of her diary. And also, what's that other one? It's like a rom-com, Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging. Did you
Oh
ever
yeah.
read?
Yeah.
Like written in the form of a diary as well. And I think they like inspired me as a kid to start writing my own. And then it stopped, but like that, I've kind of picked that back up now. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really, I think there's all different kinds of ways you can start if you wanted to without feeling too overwhelmed, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you don't even need a book. Scrap piece of paper could do it for you really. Or just speaking out loud. I mean, I used to leave myself voice notes as well.
Yeah, I've heard people do that. I don't know what I would say to myself, but
I think you would, I imagine I'm talking to my best friend
hmm,
because
yeah.
as human beings, we're always kinder to other people than we are ourselves. So I would always imagine my friend is going through this situation and what advice I would give them.
Hmm.
Would you tell your friend, oh, grow up, or oh, you just have to, or like stick it out, or like get on with it? Like you wouldn't. You'd be like, it's okay, take your time. You know, you need to breathe, you need to do whatever you need to do, and it's totally fine. And I will be here if you need me. And da, 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 da. Like this is how we talk to our friends, right? The voice note or the journal can literally be you talking to yourself in a compassionate and loving way that helps you feel seen and heard and accepted.
Yeah, that's such a lovely way of putting it because in my brain, I do not talk to myself nicely at all. But when journaling or when doing voice notes or things like that, I know that I would when I'm putting thought behind it. But yeah, that's such a different way of thinking of things. And I guess I was wondering, would you say that's like a mindful thing? Because what is
Yeah.
journaling a mindful practice or what is mindfulness?
I mean, I think the misconception with mindfulness or mindfulness practice is that it's an activity. Any activity can be practiced mindfully.
Mhm.
It's just about the state of mind you're in. A lot of people find mindfulness states of mind easier when they are journaling, or meditation is another great example, where you're putting aside time for yourself, number one, and you're being in the now. You're listening to your body and your mind, and you're a lot of time meditation, people like to think that they have to just be blank, like they have to have no thoughts, and it's not about that. I mean, people that do that are like monks, and they've been training their whole lives. They're very, very, very good at their jobs, but I couldn't have an empty brain for 5 seconds, let alone 5 minutes. So when I am meditating or practicing mindfulness, it's not about, oh, I've just had a thought, how annoying, I have to start all over again. It's okay, I've had this thought, it's just a thought, it happened, I'm going to let it go. And that's it. That's mindfulness to me. It's about observing without negativity, because a lot of the time emotions come up, or feelings or thoughts especially, and we go, oh, I shouldn't think like that. Oh my God, am I a bad person for thinking that? Oh wow, that was awful, Gemma, I can't believe you just had that thought. And we're not being compassionate, we're not being accepting. It was just a thought. It wasn't something you said, it wasn't something you did, it wasn't something you planned or plotted. It was a thought, and it happened. And just as quickly as it happened, that's how quickly it can go away. And that to me is being mindful. And you can do that through journaling, you can do that through sewing, painting, taking a walk, going to yoga class, whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah, I honestly think that sounds like such a superpower to like master. But I've noticed when I'm going to yoga, and I think it's because it's guided and someone's there, and she always says, like, right, concentrate on your breathing in and out. If you have any thoughts, just let them pass, come through. And then there's like, bits of silence where the music is playing and my mind might wander. And then she'll chime back in and she's like, if you have any thoughts, bring them back into the room, concentrate on your breathing. So I'm like, oh, yes, I'm here in the here and now. It was just a thought and I forgot what I was thinking about anyway. But it is a massive superpower to have thoughts that maybe you don't want and let them go.
Yeah.
Like it is hard, but it can be mastered. I mean, the brain is such a weird, wonderful, powerful thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have like you're not in control of your dreams, your nightmares when you wake up. So I guess it's the same thing when you have these passing thoughts that you don't want sometimes.
Absolutely. And it's, it's just being kind with yourself.
Yeah. Like
Like,
you said, you wouldn't say it to a friend, so why would you be negative to yourself?
yeah, people are like, how many times have you been in a conversation with a group of people and they go, I don't want this to come across a certain way, but I don't know any other way to express this. I'm always like, why are you justifying? Why are you preempting what you're saying as if we're going to assume that you mean it in a bad way? No, you just don't know how else to express what you need to express right now. Just say it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
It's
I think
it's the other person's job to accept it with open arms, not yours to present it that way.
yeah, that is so true. I can't wait to start doing more morning pages. I think I'm going to make it more of like a morning routine for me because it really sets me up for the day. Like I wake up and I'm like, what am I doing today? I might have my to-do list, but then I'm like, what's the goal? What's the plan? What am I working towards? But when you're writing down all these thoughts, no matter which order they come in, your page could look really messy. It doesn't matter. I think I'm going to start that as like a morning routine, like to create like a different structure because I'm really great at the nighttime routines and like winding down, but the morning routines I'm not so great at. But I think journaling's gonna play a part in that, like in future for me.
Yeah.
So what would your advice be to, I guess, how would you create structure then to manage like a work-life balance, let's say?
Work-life balance, isn't that like the thing that everyone
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 wants to
finds
know.
difficult? I mean, I think for to start, you've got to find something that makes you happy. There's no point making time aside for something you don't enjoy, because at the end of the day, you just won't do it again. So that's like the first rule. And next is, it's not about what you think it should look like, it's about what you feel. So by that I mean it's completely personal, and
Yeah.
every person is unique, and to do what you love to do, it's about your experience. And that doesn't matter what activity you're doing or how long you're doing it for or when you do it or why. All of that, push it to one side. It's about you. That's it. And then consistency is key. Creating a routine can be difficult, but I like to think of it as creating a ritual, because a
Mm.
ritual is something that we honor, respect, something that we come to with a certain energy anyway. And if you think of something as like your routine, a lot of times it's interpreted as like a something I have to do, and then therefore I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
A ritual is always something that you want to do. It's something that you want to express, something that you want to give. It's a positive association. So I would always use the word ritual rather than routine.
That makes so much sense because like my nighttime routine then is actually more like a ritual. I will have a bath like almost every night. I look forward to it. It's the way I wind down. It's like a non-negotiable for me. So when I'm struggling to make a morning routine is because I'm probably not thinking of it as a ritual or something that I want to do or want to like celebrate, I guess.
I think the best way, I mean, when I started my morning routine, it was very, very simple. I woke up, I stretched, I sat in bed, and I smiled and just sat there for about a minute or two. And then after literally sitting there with a smile on your face, and you just sit there, and then I got my journal and I wrote down 3 things I was grateful for. And that's how I started my morning ritual. Just with acknowledging what you're grateful for can put you in the best state of mind.
Yeah.
And
Like
it can be
I
like,
overcomplicate it because
yeah, like,
I need to get up, I need to do a workout, I'll have like the healthiest breakfast ever, I'll make myself a smoothie, I'll go for a walk, and I'm like, this is going to take me like 3 hours.
I mean, do all of that. If that's what you want to do it. But I think first thing, the best way to start mindfulness in your day, just think of 1, 2, or 3 things that you're grateful for. And because you've woken up and there's nothing that's happened yet, it's normally something you're grateful for about yesterday or the week before or something like that. So it already puts you in a positive mindset, because the gratefulness that you're feeling is about a positive experience you had in the past,
Mm.
and you're bringing that into the now. So you're
Interesting.
starting your day off with a positive foot instead of starting your day off going, I don't know how today is going to go.
Yeah. Wow. I've just never thought about it before, like in that way. This has been so eye-opening for me. I feel like I'm like a newbie coming back into the world of like journaling, meditation, wellness, all that. I think it's really hard to look after yourself sometimes. And
Yeah.
you need a wake up call sometimes, I think, as well. I was speaking to someone the other day and they were like, what's the one thing that you could do better to like help yourself? Not help the business, but help yourself. It could be like something simple. And I was like, I need to probably drink more and eat better, like nourishing food, like really, really basic stuff that we
Yeah.
don't think about. So yeah, it's
I mean,
been eye-opening.
for me, I started with joining a Patreon, if I'm honest. I wanted to get back into journaling, and I knew a friend of a friend, Nuala. She has a journaling Patreon, and I joined that. And she has weekly calls where we sit and we just journal. We journal and we can plan the week before, or we
Yeah.
can reflect on the week like we just had. We can do whatever you like. But it
Yeah.
just gives me an hour or two every week to ground myself, center myself, find out what the next week is going to look like. And it is so chill and so calm that you feel positive about the upcoming week already before anything else. I mean, I had the same thing when I joined a book club, and reading has now become like a very therapeutic way for me to relax. I'm kept in that routine because I know that we're going to meet and have to talk about the book. So I need to put it in. I need to make it a priority. So there's just little things you can do to just make it a priority.
Yeah, I think like what you said about joining these calls and like these community aspects about it, like you're not forced to, but because you have it there anyway, you may as well like join in with the journaling. Because I think with me, I wouldn't do it if I probably wouldn't do it if I was just left to my own devices. But if I'm joining a thing like a book club, then you sort of have to.
Yeah, I mean, I started really getting into mindfulness and well-being when I started planning for my Patreon launch.
Mm.
Because I knew I was going to have to, I wanted to offer prompts, and I wanted to offer a goodie box, and I wanted to offer podcasts and calls and all these different things. And then I was like, okay, well, you need to know what you're talking about then. And I was like, yeah, you got to put yourself first to help other people.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. I think a lot of people think putting themselves last is like the self-sacrificing thing. And I heard something in an interview or something years ago, and it was about keeping your cup full. And the woman said, so a lot of people think if they give and give and give, that's being good. And she said, but if you give to the degree that you're sacrificing yourself for the sake of another person, you're making that person a thief, because they're stealing from you what you need, but they don't even know it. You're making them complicit in the
Yeah.
act.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's such a different way of looking at it, but it makes so much sense, doesn't it?
Because we think if we give everything, we're being holier than thou, and it's actually detrimental, because we need to keep our cup full. We
Yeah.
need
It's
to
the
be
thing
whole.
like on the plane, put your mask on before you put on everyone else's. It's that, isn't it?
It
It's
is
like
it is that exactly. It's that exactly.
yeah, you just don't think about it though. And that's why I joined your Patreon because I want to be part, I need time to just like force myself to put aside things and focus on mindfulness, wellness, journaling, just these nice calls where I'm not thinking about work, not thinking about how the day's gone. It's just here and now, and I'm really enjoying it. And yeah, I'm gonna bring this to a close. But before we do, I would like you to let everyone know where they can find you on Instagram, Patreon, so they can go follow you and join and stuff because I've found it so beneficial and it's only been open a month, is it, since you started the Patreon?
Yes, yeah. So my Patreon has been open for a month. My first month on Patreon. Thank you. So yeah, you can obviously find me on Patreon, Instagram, and not so much on YouTube because I am not the most consistent there, but in my shop, it's all Birdsey Belizaire at birdseybelizaire.com. You can find everything through my website, basically.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And you make lush candles as well. I have some, so I can vouch for that. Thank you. This has been such an eye-opening session, and I think people listening will find this so eye-opening, the same as what I have as well. I hope it's been so beneficial, and I can't wait to start journaling more and making it more of a consistent practice. So thank you. It's been lovely speaking to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.